In the cultural sector in general, but especially in the music sector, we are not very good in assessing the risks that we face, and we are kind of used of dealing with a problem when it occurs, and not so much in thinking about what could happen bad and what would be the solutions. And we are kind of used of like business as usual, and because we lack time, because we lack this adaptability, as you said. So my name is Gwendolenn Sharp. I work for an organization called the Green Room. My background is actually in literature, comparative literature, and international cooperation. So one of our first missions was really to support musicians as individuals, helping them to tour more sustainably, but also thinking about their economical model, their wish to go on residencies, like to really implement eco-responsible values in every step of their work, even in looking into funding or looking, as I said, for a place for a residency. And now I think like since 2 or 3 years, we are working mostly with collective actions. The idea was really to scale up and to support musicians, but I would say indirectly, and working more with decision makers, with networks, with venues, of course, European projects as footprints. We are part of a network called On the Move, which was one also of the pioneers working on environmental issues and really having in mind this global need for contextualization. So knowing also that people that are impacted by climate change are the ones that are most of the time the less responsible for it, and already face so many difficulties to tour, to travel because of visa issues, because of infrastructure issues and all this. So we really wanted also to be part of this lobbying, let's say, movement, and being together and working on a more collective scale was very important for that, because at our own scale it's very difficult to change things. In the cultural sector in general, but especially in the music sector, we are not very good in assessing the risks that we face, and we are kind of used of dealing with a problem when it occurs, and not so much in thinking about what could happen bad and what would be the solutions. And we are kind of used of like business as usual, and because we lack time, because we lack this adaptability, as you said, sometimes it's really difficult for the actors to really think forward into what they could change. Regarding the pandemic, I'm not the only one to say that, but I think it was some kind of a rehearsal of what could happen with climate change issues and how it can really impact very strongly the mobility of artists and the whole music ecosystem. And I think this was one of the first wake-up calls for people from the industry. A lot of them started to rethink their practices during this time, and they had the time to think about environmental issues and to put it as a priority in their agenda, which wasn't really the case before. We saw that many new initiatives came up during this time. And we also saw that quite a lot of local authorities and countries started to implement either roadmaps for environmental issues on the national level. It's the case for France. There's quite a lot of money now available for what they call ecological transition for the music sector. So this is really a big step, I would say. But I think that still for musicians or even for some venues and festivals, it's difficult to grasp how they can make use of these resources and this money which is available. And they still need to have capacity building regarding changing the practices, going for systemic change. It's like sometimes a little bit of disconnection between how, what's available for the music sector and how the people can really take this into their hands and move forward into their efforts on ecological transition. The conversation can start in a good way when you start to speak about dealing with waste management, for example, eco-cups, things like this, which are kind of accepted. When you start to dig into more complicated issues, which goes with the core of the mission of a festival, and that's where you experience the most resistance. So it's not necessarily violent, but it can be very tense discussions because you know that in the end it's just to come back to the risks that we face. It's something that you have to think forward, but it's very difficult to foresee for quite a lot of people. Sometimes there's a lack of sense of responsibility that you feel like people don't really want to face. So I wrote this article on Hellfest, but it could be about any of those big festivals that attract so many people and that have this model of bringing people from really far away. The issue is this festival is indeed very successful in terms of how people experience the festival, how people are really feeling as a community and how they kind of have this little bubble where they feel like they are experimenting something really amazing and being together. But the whole model of declaring that you want to be the biggest festival of metal and extreme music in the world is already problematic because you know you're going to bring in people from all over the world, but also artists from all over the world that come for quite a lot of them by private jet and that have requirements which are totally crazy in terms of financial means, but also the needs like to have one security guard per guitar, for instance, which sounds really crazy, especially in our economics now. And this year, but it happened for the Hellfest also a few years back, it was during a very hot period during the summer with a lot of restrictions on water. And a few years ago, Hellfest already had also some restrictions on water during the time of the festival. But this year, I think it was really shocking for people to see that they were throwing water on people because it was 45 degrees on the festival field, whereas people next door, like farmers, couldn't water their fields because of water restrictions. So there was this dichotomy in terms of having this festival, everyone's having fun, drinking beer and being there, whereas the rest was kind of literally on fire because there were so many wildfires. So it's all the storytelling also that you have around those events and how you decide to attract people